Good evening and welcome to the Laugh at the Monkey Music Show. Today we have Chips and Elf. How are you?
Very well today here in lovely Chicago for one more day, and then I jump on a plane and I'm off to Rocklahoma, huge festival
Wow.
in Pryor, Oklahoma, where Megadeth is playing, just a bunch of heavyweights, and get a chance to
Really?
share the stage with some of the bigger bands out in the country for a 3 day celebration. We're playing the
Great.
Doug Burgess stage, which is for me, it's great because I love Doug, and it's nice that the whole band gets to participate in a festival that I put together with a guy named Max Baker back in 2008, and
Wow.
then I was shunned from that, where they didn't call us back for 12 years, and finally got a break to go out there and celebrate great rock and roll, heavy metal, be on the same stage as all the killer bands, great fans in Oklahoma. I've always had a wonderful time out there with all the constituents. I played great shows. I remember touring out there in the early days at Ryan James Dio and Sebastian Bach sharing the stage with those cats. So this is an incredible opportunity for Enuff to go play to 30, 40,000 people and then jump on a plane and right out to the West Coast to play the big Rainbow 50th anniversary bash with Lita Ford, John 5, and Wednesday the 13th.
Wow. You've been pretty busy. This is a very busy year for you. Then got more tours coming up too. And actually we'll go back to the tours in a minute, but what's exciting is it feels like there's always new information. Am I losing you there?
You're not losing
You
me.
there?
I'm moving the camera.
Okay.
I'm a
Okay.
cinematographer right now. Okay.
It's starting to feel like the Blair Witch Project.
There we are. You got the posters right there on the wall. You got
There they are. Those are awesome.
the gold records up there. I even got the Strokes on the wall right there. I love that band. My whole house is a potpourri of concerts.
That's the only way to go. What's really fun is there's been a lot of changes in the band over the years, but what's really kind of cool is there's a lot of talent that, despite the change up in the lineups, there's a lot of talent that just keeps coming from the band, and comes back in and out. On your last album, Alex has been back doing some writing with you and doing some playing, you know. So it's nice. It's like a big family. Sometimes
Oh,
dysfunctional, but it's like a big
yeah.
family.
Alex helped put the band together with me back in
Right.
1984.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Integral
It's cool
member
that
of the
he's been
band.
back doing more.
Yeah, great guitar player. I loved them in Life, Sex, and Death as well. I thought that was a
Oh, yeah,
killer
right.
band that should have been much bigger than they were. I used to see those
Right.
cats play all over the place and always well-attended shows. The band was on fire. And at Stanley, the front man, was quintessential lead singer, just a
He
terrific
was
talent. Him and
very.
Alex wrote some great songs together. Uh, but after Alex sashayed to put Life, Sex, Death together, we soldiered on. We were able to come up with some great material, I thought. Record those records in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and did the later stuff over at different places like Music Grinder and One on One and Hit Factory. We recorded some real nice studios and ran into some great musicians during those recording sessions, and a lot of rock stars would come over and hang out with us too, which is really nice when you're making a record and you got Rick Nielsen in the room or Dweezil Zappa or Steve Stevens, all great guys who just show up there and they just want to enjoy the songs and the party and the run. And so those are cool records that we made in those days. Nowadays, a lot of stuff is in house. It's a lot of bands are doing it
Did
that
anybody
way. You
make it?
rent a house.
Did any of the guests make it onto her? Any of those guys? Like, did Dweezil make it onto any of your albums?
Dweezil didn't make any records. Rick Nielsen did, and Billy Corrigan as well.
Yeah.
JY from Styx, Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses, Dale Bazio, Missing Persons, Robin Zander. Yeah, we've had some good guys that have participated in some of the records, and that is real special to me because back when we were doing that, most bands would just do it themselves, and the only groups that you would see that would share their spotlight would be the hip hop bands. But now some more rock bands are actually participating on records, and I think it's good for the fans. They enjoy it as well.
Well, it's really good. I think the British ones did it more. It seems like there's always like Zeppelin downstairs, another band upstairs, a bad company. Like it felt like the British bands always did more collaboration if they were both in the same studio.
That's true.
Not so much over in America, but in Britain it seemed
No, but I
it
think
was a
that
time
I
that it
think the
was.
tide has changed a little bit, and you see a lot of bands out there coming in and sharing their studio time and trying to get other names on there because, listen, not only is it great to have other musicians playing with you, especially name brand guys, but it elevates your perception. It changes everything. And those fans will come over and take a look at your band as well. So it's a win-win for everybody, I think.
I agree, and I think that's the attitude with everything nowadays. I think there's room for everybody, and you should help everybody. I think there's room for like different bands and different even podcasts or different types of brands of everything, different types of food. You can like everything. There's so many bad things out there. We need a lot of good things. You can't have enough good things.
Yep. Who cares who drives the bus? Let's get to the picnic.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. So recently, you guys just did another big release, the box set, kind of recently, the rarities.
Yep. The box set is a great little setup for the future albums. I think the fans want to hear the older stuff. I thought it was real important to release all that material we had. Tons of records. We thought maybe we'd put everything underneath one umbrella, which we did. Under Cleopatra Records and Brian Pereira. He wanted all the early records, made us a great offer. We said great, and all the new material that we're writing right now and all the newest albums that we've released are all under our label, which is Frontiers over in Europe. They're here as in the United States as well. A guy named Nick Teeter, a wonderful guy who I worked with in the early days on the Atco Atlantic record releases with Derek Shulman. I think it's nice that we have two homes right now, one for the catalog and then one for what's moving on forward with the band as we sit right now with Tori Stoffregan, Daniel Hill, and Tony Fennell. I listened to Strong Records too.
I know two things. I thought originally the two holdouts, I think, from the record companies were originally the first two albums. But the other thing is it's good to have them come out again. The other ones, because the other ones have the same strong material, they just never got the chance. So that's the first thing that's good, is to get them out there again, because they weren't in that MTV window doesn't mean they weren't good. It just means
and the Rarities record was nice to get out there because it was basically material that we never anticipated releasing. But I see all the bands out there recording. A lot of groups have gone back to the well, pulled out material that was not released, and given the fans a little taste of what was the early inception of what we did. And I think that's good that we put those records out there. Listen, we're proud of that work. Those are strong albums, a lot of them, especially the catalog stuff. But the Rarities record was really special because that was the very, very early inception of Enuff's Enuff. And those songs were like, if you listen to the material, songs are like embryos in the beginning of a life, and you keep them real close to you, and you want to do a really wonderful job when you put those records out. And there's only so much you can do because a lot of the stuff that was recorded on it was all 2-track, so I couldn't add or subtract. It was just, that's the recording you get. Try to clean them up a little bit and put those records out, and hopefully people will hear them and understand that that's the early works, and it's not a big production. There's not a lot of money behind it. It's just early days of being creative. I'm happy with
I think there's a lot of stuff on there, though. If you look on YouTube, I'm sorry to be step over you. In YouTube, there's some demos out there, and you can see by the views on that there's a desire that they wanted to hear this, just by the views on whoever put the demos out of early Enuff's Enuff. So it shows that people are interested.
Yeah, I want to get all that stuff out there. I think it's very important to clean the slate, show all the records. They say that we have it's 17 records we have up, but we really have over 20 releases, studio releases. Frontier said, I see in the press release that 17 records, but just with that demos and rarities, that makes it 21 right there, and that's not counting the live records that we put out as well. I think those are terrific. A great representation of what the band was like back then. No tapes, no sequencers, no guys backstage, just real reckless abandonment live shows. Those are fun because a lot of the live records you hear from the past, it's all been studio doctored up. We didn't get a chance to do that. I remember going in the studio in Philadelphia. Dale Peters, the bass player from the James Gang, was the engineer for Westwood One, and we showed up there. And he said to me, "Hey man, good to meet you guys." I go, "Dale, I'm a big fan of the James Gang. I've always loved your stuff. We're gonna tweak up this live stuff. Did you hear any of it?" He goes, "Yeah, sounds good. Did you guys bring any guitars with you?" And we said, "No, why? Is there something wrong with the recordings?" He goes, "No." He goes, "I just had Eddie and Sammy in here from Van Halen. They were doing some overdubs." I thought, God, we had no idea you could actually do that. When we ended up not doing anything, we left those records the way it was. I thought, and they came out great. Sounded solid as a rock, and it was a great representation of the band live. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
nice.
You start getting into production, because you obviously we're going to talk about you've begun doing production for other bands. We can talk about the new band that you just produced. But when did you make that full change over to doing production? Because at one point
that started in the early days. That started in the early days when I was living in 2231 Prairie in Blue Island. We're doing our demos. Donnie and I would do all the production ourselves. Everything, all the recordings, everything was done in-house. There was nobody really to help us. Then we had a couple of friends of ours. Dave Moragas was a great contributor in the early days of our recordings. And when we do the 4 and 8 track demos, he had a little Fostex, and we would do stuff in the front room and record those songs, all the demos of everything, all the early stuff. And that was real nice to have as well. And I haven't seen Dave in years. I hope he's doing good, because he was definitely a factor on early recordings. It was just us three in the room, nobody else. And then from there, we learned all the tricks of the trade, and started recording on our own. And we go in the studio. We started off early. I remember we were at a little club called J.D. Bats in Blue Island, Illinois. And there was a cop sitting next to me. His name was Lieutenant Bob Erft. God, I hope he's doing good. What a great guy. He helped set it up for me, gave me a career. And he said, "What are you guys doing?" We were just there hanging out at the bar looking for trim. Had fake credit cards sitting on the bar. They did a pot to piss in. Living in an apartment I think it was $500 a month, no electricity. And but we were dressed like rock stars. And he said, "Well, yeah, what are you guys doing?" We said, we're trying to get some dough together. We want to go in the studio and record some more material." And he goes, "How much you need?" I go, $500 would do it probably. And he goes, "Well, listen, good luck, you guys." And he split. And about a half hour later, showed up and threw $500 in front of me. He goes, here's some money for recording. Good luck, guys." Lieutenant Bob Erft, what a angel from above. And I immediately got on the phone, the pay phone. There was no fucking cell phones or anything back then. And I called up Star Trek's recording studio at about 1 o'clock in the morning. A guy named Jeff Loof picked up the phone, AKA Brendan Jeffries. And I said, "Hey, we're looking for to do some recording." And he goes, "Yeah, when do you want to start?" I said, "How about right now?" He says, "As a matter of fact, I just got done tweaking their drums up. Come on by." And that was the first day we started recording our 1985 album, it was called. And we did 3 songs that day, Day by Day, No Second Time, and Catholic Girls. And that started the ball rolling for us right there. And we learned a lot about recording in the studio. Had nice little Neotech, had nice clean EQ, great sound, wonderful equipment we had there, SVT, a couple of Marshall cabinets, and our guitars, and we just bashed it out live, just like we do it live in the studio. And then started tweaking everything up, and we took it to a radio station here in Chicago, and they started playing the tracks, and it was great to hear your songs after years and years of doing demos on the radio. WVVX, guy named John Gorney, and Ralph Rasmussen. And that started it all off for us. And from there, we're chasing the carrot ever since.
Do you remember the first time you heard yourself on the radio? Because this is the best stories.
Yeah, I do. We were sitting in the parking lot smoking a joint, Donnie and I, and we were arguing about the direction of the band. And the radio was on in the background, and Catholic Girls came on there. We immediately started hugging. We were almost crying. We were so happy. And immediately our following picked up exponentially. It had no Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, none of that crap. It was just all word of mouth. And we started getting some gigs and started playing around Chicago, opening for everybody you could think of, whether it was BTO, Cheap Trick. We just play shows, no money at all, set up our equipment, play a 45, half an hour, maybe an hour show, and then pack up and split. But we meet the fans, and we just started picking up a little bit of steam. And from there, we were recognized by a couple of managers out of Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. They come down to the studio. place called Royal Recorders, and we ended up signing with them. And from there, I started doing demos. We were in the same studios with Cheap Trick, Survivor, uh, Adrian Belew and the Bears. Adrian Belew was playing with King Crimson. They put together Adrian Belew and the Bears. And from there,
Adrian's awesome.
yeah, we were able to pick up a little bit of traction. And then Skid Row came in the studio to record their first album, their debut. And Doc McGee was there. My manager, Bob Brigham, gave him a couple of cassette tapes. That's how old I am. And on the cassette tapes, we had like 16 songs on those cassettes. And Doc came up to me and says, "Hey, Chip, I got he's from Chicago as well. He says, I have 3 cassette tapes of Enuff Snuff. This is terrific stuff. I got a friend of mine who might be interested in you guys. He signed Bon Jovi and Cinderella. His name's Derek Shulman. He used to be the singer of a band called Gentle Giant. He might be able to help you guys." Doc. Thank you, Doc. I appreciate that. Now, we thought that was the end of it right there. And lo and behold, a couple weeks later, huge bidding war for Enuff Snuff. Couldn't get arrested for our first 5 years of inception. And then all of a sudden got a break right there where it shows you that this business is predicated on friendships and relationships. Doc was able to procure a deal for us with all the labels, and we went from having nothing at all to an actual record deal and a little bit of money in our pockets so we can pay our rent.
That's pretty awesome. But wasn't it like that though? Like nobody, you couldn't get a date, but then also you get a date, and then everybody wants to be with you. Like the minute one person finds you attractive, everybody finds you attractive. Nothing like a crowd.
Yeah, we took that material and we shopped it to every single label, and nobody would bite on it. And then in the middle of the night, we had Derek Frigo come down to the studio in Lake Geneva and record 4 or 5 guitar solos on the stuff that Alex Kane played all the guitars on. And Derek played the 4 or 5 solos. We took that tape, same songs, same arrangement, everything. And that for some reason, Derek, he had his own swing, he had his own timbre, and all labels jumped on it. He was really very important to the signing of Enuff Snuff in those early days. I recognize it after all these years. I know, and I pay respect to him because he was a fabulous guitar player. And that really helped us out a lot. It showed a different side of the band. And we were coming out, remember, this is 87, 88. The landscape of music was a little bit strange right there. Of course, you had Poison, the Motley Crues, and the Bon Jovis, and the Cinderellas. But there was newer bands coming like the Chili Peppers and Jane's Addiction. So it was a change of the guard for a little bit. Bands that were rock, but they're a little more alternative too. And I always believe Enuff Snuff was alternative before alternative. And back in '84, when our stuff, we were recording early material, we were always compared to bands like Elvis Costello and Squeeze and Cheap Trick. And there's nothing wrong with that. Show me a band without influences. I've said it before, and I'll show you a band who hasn't written one note.
Well, I just think it's probably just the way you looked. That was the time. If you wore cowboy boots and hats or something.
Well, we were always a little bit flamboyant. We were colorful, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we certainly weren't looking at all those bands and trying to cop their look. Although I'm sure we nicked off a few of them. We just we knew that when you put a record out, you didn't see smoke machines and hair and people shaking their ass. It was just about the music. But when we went out and played shows, we were definitely flamboyant. And in a lot of ways, it was good for us. We would have came out dressed like you too. Maybe it would be huge right now. I don't know. I'll never know that. I just know that MTV embraced bands that were very colorful and glam and flamboyant. And even though our music might not have been that, our look certainly was. We were pillaging stuff out of our sisters' and mothers' closets just to get clothes. We had no money at all. We came up with a look that we thought stood out, was different than what was out there. And thank God Rick Krim recognized us. He was a big fan over at MTV of bands like Jellyfish. And he took a liking to the band and gave us a chance.
I was actually going to say Jellyfish. The image reminded me a lot of Jellyfish. Like that would have been the way I would have thought. If somebody was going to pick you up, they would have compared you more to that genre. Jellyfish.
Yeah, we didn't even know about Jellyfish.
Jezebel.
Yeah, of course I know Gene loves Jezebel. I dated the singer's girlfriend. Boy, she was fine too. Beautiful chick out in New York. Josephina Diaz. He wrote a song about her called Josephina.
Okay, yeah,
We ended up playing with them later on, but the brother wasn't there; just the singer was there. And they're nice cats. I was a proponent. I was hoping that they would do good. That was a totally different trip than what Nuff Snuff was doing. We were much more guitar heavy, way more aggressive, and we did more drugs than they did too. So we took many more chances than bands like that, and maybe for the better.
What was a big change for you guys? Because now, you always say like the look. Maybe I've heard Donnie say, you guys were glammed out or whatever. I don't think it hurt you guys actually, because I think if you guys had no image, we wouldn't be talking today because you wouldn't have. I think you guys made a mark. You know what I mean? The industry was going to change no matter what. If you had no image band, growing was still going to come by and take you. Anybody that had an album out in that time period, those 4 or 5 years, was going to get swept under the rug, no matter what you looked like.
I'd like to believe that too, but you just don't know. Obviously, images. I think it's still important to a lot of bands.
Right. That's something. I mean,
we came out though.
I think you'd have gone. You'd have gone if not.
Yeah, you perhaps you're right, and I think so too in a lot of ways. I really believe that our image caught the attention of a lot of people. I've got us on David Letterman a couple times. Got us on Howard Stern. Dee Snider.
Yeah.
From Twisted Sister, his brother Mark Snyder was a radio rep over at Atco Atlantic Records. And he was the one who came to us. He goes, "Hey man, there's this guy in New York. Ever hear of him, Howard Stern?" I go, "I heard the name, but I don't know much about him." He goes, "Oh, he's brilliant. He's got a radio show out here. I think he'd love you guys to go down and meet him." I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And we immediately hit it off instantly because he knew we weren't a band we weren't homogenized. We weren't your milk and cookies band. We had some, internal problems, obviously, with our substance abuse and our promiscuity, but those were elements that he embraced. And it was a real rock band. And he came in and we went in there and we played songs on acoustic guitar and wasn't even rehearsed or anything. We just went in there and just bashed them out. And Howard loved that. He loved the transparency of Enough's Enough. And that really helped us a lot because that helped us reach another audience that we normally wouldn't have had. There's another guy besides MTV that helped shape Enough's Enough. Was Howard Stern for sure in the early days. Him and Fred and Robin Quivers. They're wonderful people that and never got mad at us, never questioned us. We'd get yelled at by Gary Delbotti because we'd smoke pot in the bathroom before we went on the show. We'd leave the roaches on the toilet, and then we'd come back and, "Hey guys, you're not supposed to be smoking pot." We go, "Yeah, no problem." Then we take a break. Go back.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, well, and that's something I agree. I do. I remember you guys on Howard Stern. I remember that. I thought, that, and I actually think the peace sign on that first album is so tied to you guys that's actually kept you guys in the public eye forever. Because that comes out, they're like, "Oh, I know that band." You know what I mean? It's great. It worked out really good for you guys.
It certainly did. Listen, who knows? The average life expectancy of any band is a few years. So for us to still be going after all these years, I put the band together in 1984, bro. We were little kids, been driving around one car. We all pile all the gear in there and we'd go to the next gig. Every day was recordings. We really worked hard. We were not a lazy band. We hustled, came up with some decent songs. And then we tried to find work until we found an agency to work with us. It was a struggle, an uphill battle the whole time for us. But Southside Chicago provides opportunities.
How was it then? The big, it sounds like you have a duck. It sounds like a duck. When was the big change?
Yeah, I got a duck. I have a duck here as one of my pets. He's walking around the house.
Sounds like a phone alarm. I lost my track there. Being a singer now, when you took that over totally, how's that feeling now? You've been doing it for quite a while now.
Didn't want this gig. It's challenging. There's no about that. I really believe that Donnie V is one of the quintessential singers of our generation. Wonderful songwriter. Yeah. Listen, the guy's great. We had great, wonderful times together on the tour. We had tough times too. We went through a lot. And when he left the band, it was an uphill struggle. But Tony Fennell was the guy. He said, "Look, if you can sing these songs halfway as well as he did, we're going to be just fine." And Tori Stoffregan and I, years ago, we were playing. There was a show, and Donnie was sleeping in the car. He was inebriated. He just couldn't do the gig. It was after a show, and we were going to another biker bar just to hang out and have a little bit of loudmouth soup. And Tori and I and the drummer went inside the venue, and the bikers were like, "Get up there and play some songs." And we went up there and did New Thing, Fly, Michelle, and another song. And I realized that day that maybe I can do this gig. And God rest my mother's soul, because she was the one that said, "Honey, you got to go out there and do it." Once he left in 2013, you should sing the songs. And when I approached Donnie about continuing Enuff Snuff, he says, "Look, if you're going to do it, you sing the songs. At least people will know it's Enuff Snuff with you in front." And it was really, I had to find my feet. But I think I can wear the dress now. The shows have been great. The fans have spoken. It'll never be like it was before, and it shouldn't be. Band, we've grown. And it's the same band. We still do the same songs, but we have new material too. And we've taken another direction. It's a little bit aggressive. It's still got the pop side to us. I'm grateful that I can still go out there and play shows and share the stage with some of the biggest bands in the world. I'm not holding any inhibitions. I'm happy with where we're at right now, and I'm not satisfied, and that's why we go out and we tour around the country and don't stop working, because it's really a formidable four-piece gang of four that goes out there and plays these shows every single night. We never mail it in. I want to leave an indelible mark. When the fans come out and see our shows, they go, "The band's better than ever." And I think it's a strong band. That being said, I love the legacy of Enuff Snuff, and I want to keep it moving. And maybe with movies, soundtracks, TV shows, commercials, I've said it before, perhaps there'll be enough mailbox opportunities where all of us will be able to survive.
That would be awesome. So let's talk about the band you just produced.
Which one? I've done a couple of albums.
Oh, have you? I only know about
Midnight Devils. They're on Pavement Records. Yeah, they're great. Pavement Records. They sign a lot of big bands, and right here in Chicago. Wonderful guys out there. They've treated us well. They approached me and said, "Hey, I went to them at first and said, I got a couple of bands I think would be great for your roster." And one of them was Midnight Devils. The other was Steve Ramone. And I brought both bands to the forefront, along with there's a couple of bands actually I brought out. There's another band out there called Venray, and their record's out as well. They've done really good. That features a drummer from Jane's Addiction, Stephen Pearson. Stephen Perkins, wonderful drummer, solid as a rock. He's on their album. So I brought those bands to the label. Didn't want one penny, didn't ask for a dime. Just wanted to see these bands get their records out there that I thought were a big part of our fabric of what's happening out there, and we'll keep flying the flag. And Pavement signed all three bands. I produced two of them. I did the Steve Ramone record first over at Chicago Recording Company with my engineer Rob Posen. He produced a bunch of punk rock records and rock stuff. He does a lot of Enuff Snuff stuff. Did Johnny Rotten Jr., wonderful teammate. And then I asked Rob, I said, "You want to do another band?" He says, "Yeah, bring them on." And we brought the Midnight Devils in here. We recorded that record basically live in the studio, and we did some minimal overdubs and took it over to a guy named Chris Steinmans, who's a mix specialist over at Stonecutter Studio on the north side of Chicago. And he mixed the records up for us. He did a fabulous job. And a guy named John Zacks did the Steve Ramone record. He mixed that one as well. We got a good stable of cats out here that just want to fly the flag and do as many great rock records and punk records as possible. And I really believe the Midnight Devils, they're going to be around for a while. That's a formidable team. 3-piece band, no tapes, no sequencers, no guys backstage. Those guys bring the show every single night. Venray, same kind of band too. Rock band, kind of alternative, kind of rock. You'll be seeing them. They're out touring right now. And then the Steve Ramone band, I think they're gearing things up for next year, although they just got off tour with the London Choir Boys, and that seemed to work out pretty well for them.
That's awesome. I don't know, too. We'll have to check the other two out. And people, check out all three of these bands if you're not aware of who they are. And obviously, you would check out Enuff Snuff. So I caught you on a good day of time, a good window at your home. But you got some big tours coming up. Let's talk about
we're out. I leave.
You.
Yeah, I leave Wednesday. Enuff Snuff leaves Wednesday. We're out playing Rocklahoma, as I mentioned earlier. Big festival, 4-day event. Playing the Doug Burgess stage, superstar cat. I'm so glad he finally got Enuff Snuff back on the bill at Rocklahoma. Then we jump on a plane, go right to Las Vegas, Orange County, and then we play with Lita Ford, John 5, and Wednesday the 13th at that big, huge festival they have every year called the Rainbow Bash. It's their 50th anniversary. And from there, then we jump on a plane, come to Chicago, and we're right out with the Dead Daisies. And Dead Daisies, Enough's Enough. I think one of the dates you'll see Gilby Clarke from Guns N' Roses on there. I love playing with Gilby. We've done shows together in the past. We used to be in a band together. We played in the Wild Bunch with Pat Denizio from Smithereens and Wayne Kramer from MC5 and Clem Burke from Blondie. A great band. That was a wonderful time for Camel Cigarettes. Made a Brinks truck full of money on that little tour. So we'll go out. We'll do I think we got 14 dates with the Dead Daisies. You want to get tickets, you can go to Dead Daisies / Monsters of Rock, and you can get tickets and win tickets and meet and greets and whatever, and you get a chance to meet Glenn Hughes. And of course, you can't go wrong with Brian Tishy, Doug Aldridge, and Dave Lowy, who used to be in a band called Red Phoenix. Those cats will be out there. I can't believe they picked Enuff Snuff on that tour. Dead Daisies, Enuff Snuff together. That's going to be a celebration, bro. They're heavier than sin. We'll be bringing the set out every night, doing all the hits as well. I think it's a real nice package.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you know what? There's 52 bands trying to get in that package. Everybody wanted on that tour. Dead Daisies picked Enuff Snuff. It's great. All the shows will be well attended. It's sponsored by the Monsters of Rock on the Dash Radio Network. It's going to be terrific. I can't wait to see Glenn and talk about the Stormbringer record in Deep Purple in those early days. It's going to be great.
That is awesome. Well, that is really great. And then you were mentioning one more other thing. So Europe afterwards too, the European tour.
Yeah, after I finish up the Glams, after I finish up the Dead Daisies Enuff Snuff run in September, October we go over to Florida and Texas and Atlanta and South Carolina. There's a bunch of dates on. It's called the Glam Slam Metal Jam Tour, and it'll be Enuff Snuff, Pretty Boy Floyd, and the Midnight Devils. And they'll go all the way until the end of October, and then we jump on a plane and right to Italy, Spain, all through Europe, UK. I think we're doing the Dominican Republic as well. Amsterdam's in there. If you go to enuffsenough.com, ENUFFZNUFF.com, you'll get all the dates of all the upcoming stuff. We got another, 60 shows in the books. And then we'll take it easy in the middle of December. We'll take a little bit of a break, and then we'll break back out in January on the Rock Island tour with Styx and Tesla. That's going to be incredible over in Florida. That starts on January 17th. We work our way through Florida, and then we go right to Australia with Silverback touring, and it'll be Enuff Snuff, and if I'm not mistaken, Faster Pussycat over in Australia for 7 or 8 dates. So I'm looking forward. We're staying pretty busy, bro.
You are really busy. That's really good. Really awesome, man. I'm psyched for you. And then I'm sure at some point you get to do another album, which I'm sure.
I already did the record. New album comes out November 11th. New Enuff Snuff on November 11th, folks. It's called Finer Than Sin. The first single is called Catastrophe, and it's on Frontiers Records. Enuff Snuff, Catastrophe, first single. Monsters of Rock on the Dash Radio Network's playing it every single day, getting some good airplay. We'll get a lot of streams out there, Spotify, Apple Tunes, Apple Music. You'll get it. It's going to be on all different search engines. You'll be able to get that music out there, not only through social media, but you'll see us live in concert playing these songs as well. Finer Than Sin, November 11th on Frontiers.
I'm glad you said that. It's hard, just even for me, who listens to so much music, knows so much. There's so much out there for people to pick it up. It's overwhelming. The link for you guys will be underneath the show on the podcast site and YouTube, so they can go right to your site from here after the interview. And I want to thank you, man. It's been great.
Thanks for talking to me. I really appreciate it. I wish nothing but the best for all our nurses, our doctor, our military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, our firemen.
Yep.
All the local drug dealers across the street, because those guys are real important too. Listen, the black market is winning right now, that's for sure. I wish everyone well out there, and I hope you all live to be 100 years old. Thanks for taking time out to talk to me. You want to check out anything with Enuff Snuff? Enuffsenough.com. Get us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Same thing with myself, Chips Enuff at Twitter, Chips Enuff at Facebook, Chips Enuff at Instagram, and get all up-to-date news on what's happening in the world, and where we expose all the war scars and tattoos of what's happening in the rock industry. Thanks, bro. God bless you and your family too as well, okay?
Thanks, man. Thank you.